Imagine the Baltic Sea going completely, terrifyingly silent for just one night. No routine patrol chatter, no calm shipping lanes, no sleepy headlines. Instead, the entire region wakes up to one impossible reality spreading across every screen, every radio, and every military channel in Europe. The unthinkable has just happened. The Baltic flashpoint, Sweden's midnight strike. Sweden has struck Baltic fleets. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a phrase that drops like an absolute bombshell breaking news bulletin. This isn't a warning. It's not a drill. A real violent line has been crossed. And, the terrifying question that immediately follows the initial shock is, what on earth happens next? Because, as we're about to see, one explosion at sea is never just a naval incident.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the Midnight Strike. Look, Sweden isn't some random player here. They're a highly capable, modern military power sitting right on one of the most sensitive pressure points on Earth. And the speed at which this whole region mobilizes after a strike is frankly terrifying. It's like a ticking clock. Tick, tick, tick. Within minutes, ships are scrambling frantically for information, while military commanders try to verify radar contacts and assess the damage. Give it a few hours and coastlines go on high alert, air defenses light up, and naval units spread out. By dawn, phones in capitals across the entire region are just ringing off the hook. Generals demanding emergency briefings, the clock is ticking, and the pressure to act right that second is unimaginably high. But right here is the most terrifying unknown of the whole crisis. What did Sweden actually believe was about to happen? Because, let's be real, nobody starts a conflict like this completely out of nowhere. Intelligence agencies would be scrambling, trying to figure out, was there a blockade threat, a covert naval buildup, or maybe a sudden secret provocation out at sea that pushed Stockholm into a corner? They'd have to make the first move and just hope to answer those questions later. Which brings us to Section 2, the panic at sea. Because the truth is, a conflict like this doesn't actually start with explosions. It starts with suspicion. It starts with fear. This completely changes our view to the tactical chaos happening out in the water. Listen to this quote. "The sea that looked calm a few hours earlier suddenly feels like a trap." That carries so much weight. Just think about what this literally means. Civilian shipping corridors, waters that were totally peaceful yesterday, instantly transform into a zone of intense military uncertainty. Air patrols intensify, ports freeze up, and suddenly every single vessel out there becomes a potential target in a dark, unpredictable ocean. Moving on to Section 3, the diplomatic shockwave. Now notice the stark contrast here. It's actually brilliant to see side by side. Behind the closed doors of diplomacy, you get this fragile, highly sterilized language. The first press conferences are always full of really careful phrases, things like grave concern or reserving response options. But look out on the water, and inside those war rooms, it is frantic. Aggressive military preparations, asset positioning, emergency planning. The sea is no longer just water. It's a message, a warning, and a very violent test. And the global response? Instantaneous, chaotic, and totally rapid fire. We're talking emergency UN consultations, intelligence assets rapidly redirected, regional alliances being tested both publicly and privately. You'd see demands for condemnation and, at the exact same time, quiet preparations for the absolute worst-case scenario. See, once a country attacks at sea, the rules change overnight. Major powers have to instantly assume new positions because that core confidence, the idea that traffic can just continue and deterrence works, is completely shattered. This leads right into Section 4, Sweden's impossible test. The exact moment those weapons are used, Sweden has to figure out how to survive the brutal consequences of its own strike. Instantly, national unity fractures. You'd see this immediate, super intense domestic divide. On one side, folks rallying around the flag, arguing for strength and resolve, saying we're defending with resolve against intimidation. But then on the other side, voices condemning the whole thing as a reckless provocation, opening a door to retaliation, isolation, and cyber disruptions that simply cannot be closed. Unity is severely tested when real-world consequences literally arrive at your doorstep. And man, those consequences hit the wallet fast. The immediate economic fallout is severe. Shipping costs, they skyrocket. Ports completely freeze up. Vital supply chains start to wobble, energy security is suddenly threatened, and commercial insurance markets go into an absolute panic. Investors absolutely despise uncertainty, and there is literally nothing that creates uncertainty quite like sudden naval combat in a strategically vital sea corridor. Let's turn to Section 5, the escalation trap. This is arguably the most dangerous dimension. Because the money is really just the beginning. So the crucial point here is this definition itself. What is an escalation trap? It happens when purely defensive moves, say repositioning your aircraft just so you don't get caught by surprise, are completely misinterpreted by a panicked commander on the other side as preparations for a brand new attack. I mean, the ocean is wide open, but the decision-making window is incredibly narrow. A reaction to a simple sonar contact can lead to devastating overreactions. And suddenly, just like that, the margin for diplomacy vanishes entirely. If the international response fails to calm things down, the world enters a terrifying period of heightened readiness. And the psychological toll here? It's immense. Regular civilians suddenly have to learn military terminology, stuff like ship classes and maritime choke points. Every single news update starts to feel like a ticking countdown to a much, much broader confrontation.
Finally, Section 6, the edge of chaos.
So, how do we get out of this? Building a path away from disaster requires 3 exact steps: immediate restraint, immediate communication, and a credible effort to stop the next move before it happens. Back-channel negotiations can potentially prevent the next attack, but, and this is a big but, this only works if all players still actually believe that compromise is possible. Once vengeance takes over, well, this path disappears forever. And we really must never forget this fundamental truth. Behind every fleet are people. We're talking about real sailors, medics, and families waiting nervously by the coast. This is exactly where the abstract fantasy of a military thought experiment comes crashing down into the harsh reality of fear and loss. Every single decision made in those frantic first hours echoes in real human lives, not just on tactical charts. So I'm going to leave you with this chilling thought. If a crisis like this erupted on your screen tomorrow morning, would the world react fast enough to stop the second strike? Or would every side move too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to hear your debate on this. And if you enjoyed this explainer, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives where we pull back the curtain on the most complex scenarios imaginable.